Barbell Therapy fans, welcome back to this episode. I actually have Peri here with me, and we're going to get into a lot of things. I'm actually so excited. So how are you today?
Doing well. Thank you so much for having me on. This is really special what you're doing, and I'm really just honored to be a part of it.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I just feel like there's not enough women talking about how fitness and nutrition is like good for us. I feel like there's a lot of negative, but we don't talk enough about the good things it can bring to our lives.
I love that. Absolutely. I mean, it's brought so much to my life, and I'm sure for you as well.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's just start out. Tell us a little bit about you, your background, what you're doing now.
So my name is Peri. I am 24 years old, and I'm a sports broadcaster based in Washington, D.C. Now, my path in sports broadcasting started when I was in college. I played tennis at Brown and was constantly balancing sports, academics, social life, you know how it is. And at the same time, I stepped into the acting studio, and it changed my life. And I realized that I wanted to continue performing after college and also stay in the sports world because that was my first love and is still a huge passion of mine. And so that's how I found broadcasting. I spent the past 3 years after graduation in Southern Virginia, right near James Madison, actually, so not too far from you over at VCU. Yeah. And I was broadcasting at a local news station there. I hosted 3 shows a day in sports and got a lot of reps. Also didn't get a lot of sleep, so you know how it is as far as, starting out of college. Got, a lot of experience and really used that to launch myself into 2024, where I am now a freelance content creator and journalist focusing on the transition from college to the world beyond and helping other athletes do the same.
And I think that's so important, and I love what you're doing because it's also like beyond, like I feel like people forget that you go your whole life playing this sport, being on the courts, whatever, and then potentially like having it in the back of your head, maybe I want to go pro, whatever it is, especially in tennis, like it's a little bit, there's more options, I would say. And then you leave college and you're like, hold on a second, that has been my whole world since I was like 3. What do I do now?
And it's very abrupt. It's a very abrupt shift for all of us. And I feel that because of internships, I was as prepared as I could have been at the time, but I almost wish that someone like me had existed when I was in college, almost whispering into my ear, telling me what to do and telling me how to get ready for the shift that has really changed my life, and I'm still recovering from it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about the shift, right? Because I think we'll get back into tennis, but I feel like the shift is kind of like the main focus of where it all kind of started for you. Because in school and tennis, things like that, you probably had someone helping you, being like, here's what you do for workouts, here's what you do for practice, here's what you should eat, things like that. But then, like you said, when it all abruptly stops and it's kind of taken away from you, what do you do now? So talk to us a little bit like what that transition looked like for you at the time.
Now, for me, I started my job search in college in my senior year, literally 2 months into senior year. So I was sending out applications for my childhood bedroom because it was during the pandemic, and sending out applications to be a broadcaster all over the country. So I had no idea where I would end up, but I was hoping that I could land something before college ended so I could have a next step in place. Now, right. I landed something after a year of job searching. I landed something the day before I graduated. And the day after I graduated, I moved down to Virginia. So it literally, in the blink of an eye, my life changed. And I hadn't fully processed what was happening before I was already starting to broadcast. And then I realized, wow, tennis is over. What next? What am I doing now? Fortunately, I had to put all my energy into broadcasting because I didn't know what I was doing. I had to learn everything on the fly. Right. But at the same time, I was still dealing with the trauma of letting go and the heartbreak of just moving on and having to move on. And there was no tennis in my life at that point. And I realized right away that I wanted tennis to still be a part of my life. And so I actually started broadcasting in the tennis world at the same time on the side because I just wanted to keep the sport in my life. And I started this podcast called On the Rise, where I help other women move on from competitive sports. And we're 3 years in now, almost 50 episodes on the Rise with our partner at Tennis Channel. But I'm just really lucky that I've been able to discover this community around me because it's helped me as much as I hope it's helped them.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of like tennis broadcasting, what I think that a lot of people don't realize is that and maybe you do, but you don't even think about it, there's like a tier system inside of collegiate athletics, inside of professional sports. Like where in certain areas, different sports have like a different emphasis or a different tier. And so I say that because, this past year, my tennis team did make it to the NCAA tournament, and we were watching the selection show and the broadcasters were ruthless. And I was like, whoa, I remember they were announcing wherever TCNJ ended up playing. They were like, TCNJ had this crazy comeback story. Sorry, you're about to come to an end because you're going to play Kentucky or whatever it was. And I was like, that's so mean. I was like, why would you do that? But I was just thinking about it in that moment because I was like, wow, like we had gone to go play at UVA. And I was like, I might see some of these guys like their careers end right now, or like, they're going to move on. And like, hey, as a coach was like, how do I process that? I can't even imagine like being the athlete and processing that.
So I didn't really have a last match. And my career never really, quote unquote, ended with some grand finale because of the pandemic. So as an Ivy League athlete, we actually lost our last 2 seasons, both 2020 and 2021. I graduated in 21. So it was not as eventful, I guess, as it could have been.
Right.
It was a very slow burn, a slow death, I like to say, of my college tennis career. But at the same time, it allowed me to reflect in the moment and be very sad, but also figure out that I had to figure out, what was next and what I was doing next.
Yeah. So you went into broadcasting, you kind of poured all your eggs into that basket. I know that's kind of when things started taking a turn in terms of like getting to a more unhealthy space. So talk to us about like where you started and how you ended up into that unhealthy space and what that looked like for you.
I mean, the biggest thing I would say was that I wasn't fully prepared to change my lifestyle. And so I didn't realize that as a broadcaster, especially in local news, there are days when you only eat 1 meal a day. There are days when you're sleeping 3-4 hours. You have to turn around because you just covered a sporting event late at night, and you get off the air at midnight, and then you have to go to a press conference at 9 a.m. the next morning. Also, there are 2 hours of hair and makeup, that women have to do in the industry. So that could be a whole other podcast. But there wasn't space necessarily for me to live that structured lifestyle that I had before in college. And so what ended up happening was without, frequent meals, I felt like I was less energized, and I felt like I had less energy and motivation really to work out because I didn't have my teammates around me. And I was in a rural town, and there were not a ton of fitness community events that I could really go and connect with other like-minded individuals who love fitness, love tennis, love sports. So I found myself doing a lot less of the things that made me me. A lot less sleeping, which of course we all need, but a lot less eating healthy, sustainable meals. A lot less working out. I would work out for 20 minutes before work every day if I could, but there were some days that I couldn't. And that's both healthy and unhealthy because, of course, the transition from college to the world beyond, you can't always work out every day like you did in college, of course.
Right.
But I wasn't able to release those endorphins, and I wasn't able to regulate myself emotionally in the same way that I could as an athlete because I didn't have that same structure.
Right. So when you say like for broadcasting, obviously you're on the go all day, things like that. If you had to look back and be like, okay, these are the unhealthy things that I was doing, do you have any solutions for your previous self? Like anything that you could have done to potentially be in a healthier place?
The biggest thing for me is sleep and prioritizing sleep over exercise, because then what I could do is I could then have more energy when I did exercise on those days that, that I was able to have a little bit more time. Because what ended up happening was my workouts it honestly felt like pulling teeth for myself because I wanted to work out. But when I actually went to work out, I just didn't have the energy, didn't have the motivation. So I often found that I wasn't helping myself as much. And like, for example, 30 minutes of a workout for me now in 2024 versus 30 minutes of a workout for me back when I was in local news broadcasting, very different workouts. And it just wasn't as helpful for my body when I didn't have enough fuel, because then I wasn't able to sustain something that could both build muscle and also just keep me mentally sane.
Yeah. And do you have any like advice for your past self on like how you could have had more meals and fuel yourself better?
Meal prep. Oh my gosh. I would have loved to meal prep. There are 2 things actually that I would say, both meal prep and find some way to make 3 meals a day. Even if it's lunch right before dinner, just having those 3 meals at least allowed me when I recently made that change back into that healthy pattern to not overeat at dinner, because I found myself so hungry by the time that dinner happened. And I would come home from work, it was 12 or 1 a.m., and I would have the biggest meal of the day. And then I would have to sleep, wake up, and do it all again. And that's just because of a busy lifestyle. Of course, we all go through that, where there are some days when we can't get 3 meals a day. But just that constant eating every 4 or 5 hours for me now just keeps me so in such a better rhythm and such a better routine, and also allows me to get more workouts in the day because I feel fueled all the time.
Right. Yeah, I have a couple clients who are nurses, and some friends who are nurses, and so they work these 12-hour shifts, and like you never know what's going to happen, right? Like you don't know whether you're going to get to lunch or not. So some strategies that we've really been working on, especially because like when you're in that high pressure environment, same as broadcasting, your nervous system is so taxed that you might actually not even be hungry. Like you're just like so tired, you're not even hungry. So how do we get those meals in? And something that we worked on is like during the warmer months, we would do smoothies. And then during like the colder months, we would do blended soups. And that's how like we did that, because then you could just keep it like in a water bottle or a thermos or whatever and sip on it and hopefully be able to get it through. Like even if it took you 30 minutes to finish, at least you have, that nutrients coming to your body.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, at times I was afraid to continue eating because I was like, wow, I'm not burning as many calories now. And, I thought that I needed to look a certain way to be on air. And so all of these things kind of spiraled together because I didn't have enough energy to work out as it started. But also, I just didn't have that constant fuel throughout the day, that consistent fuel that, as you said, smoothies would have been a great solution as well.
Yeah. So let's go into at least a little bit of like how it felt knowing that you were on air and how that impacted your body image and everything that you had going on at the time.
Again, something else I would have loved to prepare for had I known.
Yeah.
But there's nothing that quite prepares you like being on air 3 times a day for 3 years, especially right as your body's changing right after competitive sports. So the biggest thing that happened to me that I feel, a lot of other athletes have, especially runners, and my body is similar to those of runners because I've always been a runner as well, in that kind of that delayed onset of puberty and just having our bodies change so quickly after we stop competing. And so that happened to me. So after the first year of broadcasting, I looked like a very different person physically than I did when I was in college. And that scared me. And I was still working out every day. But as I said, it was just those 20-minute quick workouts that I wasn't able to fully pour myself into. So I did feel like I wasn't helping myself gain enough muscle. And I also wasn't eating to support that muscle, both muscle growth and muscle maintenance. And so you just saw like kind of those changes. And it definitely scared me as a broadcaster because I see myself on air every day. I mean, you're constantly looking at yourself in the mirror. You're a one-man band in local news, shooting, writing, editing, producing all of your stuff. And so for me, I was literally clipping the content that I had just been on air. So I got to see everything and I saw all those changes. And I wasn't sure in the moment how to deal with it besides just accepting it, which I think was a good thing in that time.
Yeah.
I did not rebel against it. I just accepted it. And I said, you know what? I'm prioritizing my career. And sometimes these things happen when you prioritize other things in your life. And I was okay with that. And I think the time that I stopped being okay with it was the time that my lifestyle just got so squished because work was taking up so much of it that I wanted more. I wanted more time to exercise. I wanted more time to sleep. And of course, interact with the people that I love because that's part of life as well.
Yeah.
A very big part of life. So it wasn't until my lifestyle was so suffocating that I felt the need to also change physically.
Right. And I love that mindset because I feel like that's a mindset that a lot of women lack, right? Like we lack the idea to just accept that our body's going to go through changes in multiple ways. Like I cannot tell you the countless amounts of conversations I have about women wanting to be back to their college weight or back to their pre-pregnancy weight. And there's just all this like pent up, like I can't let that version of me go. And I'm no stranger to that myself, but like I think for you, you had like three various different versions of that. You had, your tennis and then just like how you were when you first started broadcasting, and then like as the change continued, and the mindset that you had, like, which is just accepting it, is amazing and probably what got you through it in the end.
I agree because my mom was a big part of that. She played in college and then played on tour, and she said that this happens. This happens to athletes after you stop competing. And it's okay. You can't run away from it. It's inevitable. And of course, I wanted to run away from it. But the truth was, I was so busy with work that I couldn't really run anywhere. I didn't even have time to run as it was. So there was no run. There was no running of any type. But I certainly was able to just compartmentalize a little bit. And I told myself, I said, when this chapter is over with my career, I will go back to living the lifestyle that I want to on my terms. And that's been 2024, which has been the most successful year of my life to date, having nothing to do with career. It's just been personal, getting back to that healthy pattern that I had as a junior tennis player before college even started.
Right. And I think that's important too, is like you definitely, I think a lot of people don't realize this about collegiate athletics. Obviously, I'm in collegiate athletics, so I do, but people think that like, oh, it's so easy for you when you're in college because you have the weight room and like, you're being told whatever, or like you just have all this time, and people forget that like you're a person. You are a person that's going through all of the same college things that everyone else is going through, plus school. For you at an Ivy League, had to make it 10 times harder. Then, your schedule is handed to you. You don't get to choose, I like to play tennis in the morning, I like to play tennis in the afternoon. This is when you're playing, period. Then you also have individuals, then you have workouts, then you have runs, and like all these different things. And so, like, now, like you said, afterwards, you have to create that lifestyle and understand where it's coming from. But I'm curious how that transition was for you, junior tennis to college too. Like, what was that transition like?
It was not as bad as the transition from college to the world beyond. That
Right.
is definitely the most difficult transition for me because in junior tennis, I had a similar structure of class, practice, workout. It would be class, practice, homework. But sometimes there would be actually a workout between the practice and the homework because I felt like I was able to run on a little bit of sleep in high school, whereas in college I needed a lot more sleep. And so I actually prioritized myself a fair bit in college. And I wasn't able to do that when my full-time job got in the way after college. But I did feel that the structure in college was pretty similar to my junior tennis career.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think that the other thing that you talked about was nutrition in college and how you had an idea, but like not 100%. So talk to us a little bit about that and how that changed for you.
Nutritionally, the biggest thing I learned actually happened after college. And gosh, I wish that I could go back and tell myself that I want to say this PSA for literally anyone who's listening to this podcast. Avocados are not a sustainable source of protein. And I only found this out after college. And after college, in two and a half years of broadcasting, eating avocados every single day, thinking that that was a good source of protein. Avocados are great, but they cannot be your only source of protein in a day. And I just did not know that because I always prided myself on eating healthy. And I thought because avocados have been marketed as a protein source, that is sustainable protein. You can have avocado, or you can have chicken, or you can have turkey, or you can have eggs. No, that is incorrect. Avocados have 1 gram of protein. If I could literally change my Instagram bio for one day to say anything that has nothing to do with myself, I would literally say avocados have 1 gram of protein.
That's amazing.
I had no idea. I did not know. And when I found this out, I was shocked. I said, okay, this has to be wrong. Google has to be wrong. Google is basically never wrong. So I had been wrong. Once I changed this, I feel like, first of all, I would have been much more full in college. I was always hungry in college. And it was because of my classically chaotic lifestyle that is all student athletes, but it's also because I wasn't giving myself the proper protein. And then after graduating, I continued on that avocado grind, not proper protein at all. It was only the 3rd year in broadcasting, so I was 23 years old before I knew how to eat a dinner with full protein every night.
Yeah. It's
like, oops.
A lot of people don't, and like I was in the same boat. I loved me an avocado, but Avocados actually, so they are not necessarily a whole source of protein. They have some protein in them, but the reason that they keep you full is because they're super high in fat. And so that high fat content is what actually satiates you more and more. And then, if you're doing an avocado on a multigrain toast, now you have also all this complex fiber that's also going to keep you really full. So, you're thinking like, oh, this is great because I'm so full, but you're full for different reasons and you're not helping your muscles, which like as an athlete or someone who's working out, that's incredibly important.
And I would open my dinner every night with the avocado toast, so I would basically be full after that. I mean, not really, because I'm always hungry. I'm always eating a lot of food, but it would be after that I would like finish with vegetables, or something that I thought was a
Yeah.
great nightcap, may we say. She never got the protein in the first place, so was not helping me. And definitely lost a lot of muscle mass after graduating because of that. I mean,
Yeah.
in part because of that, and as I said, of course, because of limited, exercise, but also nutrition, played a huge role in that.
Yeah. So I'm also curious, you both in tennis and then again broadcasting, I feel like your body image was put on display a lot. Did that ever bother you? Did it ever like affect you in any way, shape, or form?
Absolutely, 100%. I feel like because I've been talking about it for years on air on my own podcast and on my own TV platforms, I've felt like it's helped me. It's almost been a way of therapy for me to deal
Yep.
with it and to connect with other women who are going through similar things, especially other female athletes. But if I could give myself some advice, it would definitely be that acceptance that I've heard you talk about on this podcast a lot, is just saying that sometimes life is a certain way for a reason. You are building another part of your life, you're building another part of your identity, and that might not have to do with exercise. And so, therefore, your body's going to change. And I wish I could tell myself that before all of this, before all of the times that I looked in the mirror and questioned, is it worth it to be building this broadcasting career if I don't quote unquote look the same as I did as an elite athlete? And I have no regrets about the journey that I went through over the past 3 years. I say absolutely it was worth it because I got this skill. And so sometimes when you're building a skill that does not have to do with athletics, then your body's going to look a little different. It's going to change. And I definitely struggled with that. I definitely struggled with accepting that. But once I did accept it and once I let go the desire to go back, then I realized, so some people say, okay, some people say that you can go back to your old college self. I don't believe that, but I do believe in 2024 I've turned back the clock in the positive way of that I'm now an evolved version of myself. I'm a lot stronger than I was in college. I'm a lot stronger now than I ever have been. And that of course is like partially because of hormones, but also because I have completely taken on lifting with intentionality. And I lifted 3 times a week, sometimes 4 in college, but that was lifting for maintenance. And now lifting intentionally with a new mindset has allowed me to gain a lot of confidence in myself as an athlete and both as a woman as well.
Yeah, I love that. So tell us a little bit more, like, is there any tangible way you can describe confidence? Like on a day-to-day basis where you're like, oh, this is how I know I'm more confident now in this stronger, healthier version of myself.
It's the feeling. It's the feeling from inside me. It's the same feeling that allowed me to believe in myself as a tennis player after 2 years of doubting. For my freshman and sophomore year, I doubted myself as a tennis player. My junior year, that belief came from inside myself. And I decided that I was going to do this for joy. I was going to play tennis for joy because I knew it was going to end relatively soon. I didn't know it was going to end in like 6 months, but that's for another day. But I decided to approach it with a mindset of joy. And in 2024, I decided to approach fitness from a space of joy. And I've tried all of these new workouts this year. And of course, it's helped me gain my fitness and become like a new version of myself that, yes, you could compare to the college me, but I would say it's even more evolved. And the most important thing that I would say about the whole journey is that acceptance as well, and like accepting that now I do have more time to work out, but am I going to do it for joy or am I going to do it for aesthetics? Because at first I started to do it for aesthetics and I realized very quickly that I was feeling different in a positive way. I was like, oh, like I can move, I can like play and like run after the ball again. I feel like quick and fun, I feel kind of like I did in college. And then I realized that in turn gave me confidence. So it was kind of it was a loop. It was a full circle moment. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I do love that. And I think that's one thing that is not talked about enough. Like for you, tennis, right? Like it's like pretty, I wouldn't say easy, but you have a concrete thing that when you're doing something and then you go play tennis, you know for a fact whether you're getting better or not. But for other people, like how do you qualify that? So, for a lot of people, it's just like, can you walk up the stairs without feeling winded? Does your body hurt when you stand up or sit down or, sit at work all day? Like these different things are so important because that's where the confidence comes from on a daily basis, right? And I'm sure you feel that exact same way. Like when you're creating content or doing your freelancing, you probably have a lot more stamina or drive now versus before when you were running on fumes. And those small things really play a role into that confidence and just knowing that on a day-to-day basis, I feel better.
And I know that people have told me this my whole life, but I've never truly believed it until now, that sleep is the key to solving half of the problems. There are still going to be 50% of my problems that are there when I wake up. But the other 50% go away with sleep because I can calm myself better and because I can calm my emotions a little bit better and live alongside my emotions instead of rebelling against them and forcing myself to work out over it or forcing myself to do something, that isn't like good for me in the moment. Now I feel like if I have enough sleep, I feel both motivated and excited to get, movement in during my day. And it's really changed my perspective.
Yeah. And what's crazy is that there's so much information on social media, like hormones, gut, all of the things. And everyone's like, this is what you have to do, these supplements, this diet, whatever. And I'm like, no, no, no. Like, you can't even focus on that if you're not doing the normal things, which is sleep, eating enough protein, drinking enough water, and moving your body. If you're not doing those things, whatever you try to do to cure your hormones or stress or anything like that is still just going to be putting like a band-aid on it because you're like, I'm fixing it. It's the quick fix.
And it's like, you talk about this on this podcast, right? How some of your clients have gone through that.
Hey, Barbell Therapy fam, I am interrupting this podcast because I want to make sure I let you know that I have roster spots open for my one-on-one coaching. This program is 110% customized specifically to you. I make a brand new workout. I do not copy and paste from any of my other clients. I work with you individually on your individual nutrition needs from where you started to where we want to go. And I make sure that you have a plan in place that will actually get you results and be easy and sustainable for you to achieve. We're going to look at your individual body and how your body responds to things. Honestly, the amount of support that you're going to get inside of this program is going to be the game changer. From not feeling like yourself and needing personal journal prompts, routine audits, making sure that your day is structured in a way that you don't feel like you're flailing and you just have all these tasks you need to complete and you don't know when and why to complete them. I will go through every single step of the way with you to make sure that you not only have a plan that you can actually complete, but you know when and where to complete that plan so you don't feel like you're just adrift in the day trying to meet these metrics. We are going to be best friends throughout this, and I'm telling you, it is worth it. Hop on a call with me and let's do a personalized fat loss evaluation for you where I will give you the starting guide that we would be using inside of my program, calories, training days, cardio days, etc. I will give you that guide to get started and we can see if you're a fit for the program. And if you're not, at least you have a basic plan that you can implement to actually hit your results. So let's get started by setting up that call and I can't wait to meet you.
And I understand because when I was in that situation where I didn't have those four things during broadcasting, I wanted to find a quick fix. I wanted to say, not that there was something wrong with me. I knew that there wasn't. It was fine. But I did want to find a quick fix. How can I be able to run a mile in the same time that I did before, or how can I do this or this or this? And I realized that by doing, by looking up all those things on Google, I was taking away from the joy that is exercise and that is finding balance between movement and non-movement. And so I completely agree with what you're saying, that there is so much information out there, but at the end of the day, I feel that a lot of the solution does come from inside yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also like, I think you discovered it, right? It's not just doing those things, but it's finding the love from doing those things. That's what's going to be a game changer. If you are just checking off the boxes like you were when you were broadcasting, like, oh, I know I should exercise because that's what I've been doing my whole life. You go and you exercise, you feel like crap still, and then, you're not prioritizing sleep, you're still not eating, etc. But now you're like, oh, I can actually enjoy the process of exercising and finding healthier balances with food and sleeping, and you're enjoying those really basic things because they're truly making a huge impact in your life.
And it's a constant evolution. I am not where I hopefully will be in another 6 months. So,
Right.
in no way do I feel like I've quote unquote made it or come to this huge realization. It's more that I am enjoying the process and that I am learning about myself through this process and learning what my body can do again. And I think that's a real blessing.
Yeah. So I know you've told us that you're eating 3 meals a day and you're getting those 8 hours of sleep. Is there anything else that you do on a day-to-day basis that you're like, this is non-negotiable for me because this is what's helping me feel better?
Every Wednesday. So this is not an everyday thing, but every Wednesday I am able to connect with my local community through an outdoor yoga class. And they hold this in the DC area. And it's been wonderful for me because I realized that I both met so many amazing people through this yoga class. Two, it's movement for myself. Three, it's a great way to see the sunset, which love a good sunset.
Yeah.
Four, I think, and most importantly, is it is that structure, but in a positive way that brings me joy. And so it's not something that I have to do. If there's a week that comes by on a Wednesday and I don't want to, or I can't because I'm traveling for work or something, it's no problem. And everyone accepts that because you don't have to be there every Wednesday at 6 p.m., but I choose to be there every Wednesday at 6 p.m. And so by making that active choice, I feel that structure every week it kind of gets me through the middle of the week. It gets me through that hump day, but yeah, I would say adding something that has to do with community into my schedule has been huge for me.
Yeah, I do love that. Like community is a big game changer. And when I first moved to Richmond, from Baltimore, like I had my community of powerlifters, I had my friends. Like when I needed to get out of a rut, I would go to the gym and I'd see my buddies. Like, and they'd be doing the same thing I was. And then I got here and I was like, oh no, what do I do now? I really lost myself because I was like, I have no community. I have no idea how to do this alone. Um, and I haven't quite built that back up, but I think
It's a
it is like,
process. Yeah, it's a
yeah,
process, especially when you move to a new place. I mean, I just moved to DC in 2024 and I'm still, working to find that community outside of the spaces that I already belong to.
yeah, and especially when you're an adult, like it's just challenging. Like I literally downloaded Bumble BFF and like I've been meeting new friends because I'm like, guys, I need friends.
How has that been for you?
Oh, it's been good. I've had a couple conversations. I had a coffee date the other day with a girl who's lovely, and we're hoping to meet up again soon. And then another girl and I are currently trying to create a time to meet up, and it's just nice. It's like different. It's not a powerlifting community, but some friends are nice.
I love that. And I mean, it's nice to find friends in other areas. I mean, my closest friends who I met in college shared a hall with me. We were all in the same hall and we're still best friends, the seven of us. And I feel like only one of those girls out of the seven was an athlete as well. And I feel like having those diverse interests really brought us together because we saw one another as people instead of seeing one another as athletes. And I never felt judged based on my athletic performance when I was with my best friends.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so important too. Like just feeling like that support. And especially I feel like in females, and for some reason we should really eliminate this, but the competitive nature and like tearing each other down, just that really bothers me. But I feel like it's so common in female sports.
It is. It is. And I mean, I've been covering women's sports for 3 years. That's my passion is interviewing other female athletes. And it has been such an uplifting experience for me to give them a platform to share their stories. But at the same time, sometimes I do hear from them that they don't get that same support from their communities. And it makes me very sad because I've been there. We've all been there as female athletes where we feel judged in certain spaces. And I feel like I'm sure that male identifying athletes go through the same thing, but it hurts.
Yeah, 100%. And like there was that whole gymnastics in the Olympics where like Simone Biles like bowed, I was like, this is it. Like, this is what we need to do. We need to continue to support each other and lift each other up and give each other a platform, which I love that you do. And it's just like, it's so important to, it does not matter what is going on. Like, we need more women like you who are just here to continue to support and lift people up and show the masses that that's what's important.
I agree. And I think social media hopefully is becoming more real. And I've seen a lot of real content that has helped me as a female athlete recognize that there is this world beyond college sports that you can find athletic achievement in. And so in that space, I actually do credit social media a lot for helping me in my own journey and helping me figure out tips about nutrition, tips about exercise, tips about balancing life and work. A lot of it has come from social media. And I feel like we'd be lying to ourselves if we didn't say that we have seen posts that actually changed our mindset for the better.
Absolutely. And three of my best friends are from social media, believe it or not.
Wow, that's amazing. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Like there was, mostly through powerlifting, we were local and we'd follow each other or whatever. But randomly we were just like, hey, like I like your vibe on social media. Do you want to meet up? So,
That's
I
so
met him.
cute. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. One of them is my wedding photographer, but if she wasn't in photography, then she would be a bridesmaid. The other one's one of my bridesmaids. Like, these are some of my favorite people. They came through social media because they were real. I was real. Yeah, the whole thing. We love it.
And I mean, I realized that through meeting a lot of other influencers, I feel that they've all been so genuine in sharing their stories and sharing tips on how to create and how to create meaningful content that I realized that there are a lot of female athletes who are looking to create meaningful content. And that's great. Like, that's so cool. And I think it was something that I didn't fully realize until fully committing to the social media space, that there are a lot of like-minded individuals out there.
It's also like it's filtering it out. Like if you luckily there is algorithms and I think like obviously the algorithm gets a lot of shame, but when you're constantly engaging with genuine people and people you like, you're going to be brought more of that, and a lot of the other stuff is going to be hidden, like because that's not what you're about. And so I do love that I feel like I see a lot of the things that I want to see on social media, which is nice.
It's really nice. Absolutely. I feel the same. I mean, I also am not the more you create, I realize the more you have to struggle to keep up with other people's lives because it is very time consuming to actually make the content. But I do love seeing my own feed and I'm proud that I say, as you said, it's filled with positivity. And I think that's so cool.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, is there any other tips, advice, things you want to like talk about that maybe I haven't asked you yet?
I would say the biggest thing to go back to would be the lifting with intentionality. And I think that could be applied to many other things that athletes might have done in college that were a given, that there's a space in which you can return to those places and treat it with a different mindset and get a lot more out of it. And so for me, when I stepped into the gym, basically a year ago was when I started to lift again, but I've never lifted like I lift now. And my boyfriend has been a huge part of that. He's a professional athlete and has showed me how to lift like a professional athlete. And it's changed my mindset completely because when he said, okay, we're going to do a lift, I thought in my head right away, okay, after this, I'm going to go for a run. It's not a real workout. Trust me, girl, I cannot move after I lift. There's no run to be had. There was no run to be had. And when he put the barbell on my back and he said, okay, so squat with this, let me just see your form. I literally, no kidding, I couldn't even do one squat with it. And I went halfway down and I was like, oh, like, is it done? Like, is the exercise done? Like, can I put this back on the rack? Like, I don't know how to do this. And it was just such a cool moment because it was very humbling, but it's now one of the biggest parts of my life. And I'm just so grateful for that.
Yeah, I love that. Do you feel like lifting and working out has brought out anything else in your lifestyle that's made you maybe you didn't have before in terms of like habits, discipline, motivation, things like that?
Motivation. I think it's been an inverse relationship because the more that I've worked out, the more motivated I've been to work out. And once I got over that hump of, hey, I can do 2 workouts a day again. I have the time. I have the flexibility. Now where's the motivation? Like where does that come from? And for me, it came from that joy that we were talking about before, that I feel like I could do a really fun workout because I already got in my main workout of the day. So let's see like what new sports are out there that I haven't tried, which truth is there are a lot. There are a lot of
Yeah.
new sports, especially when you've been playing a sport your whole life. And then you go to college, you play that sport. There are a million things that you can do after that are both going to help you physically and mentally. But also, I mean, learning a new sport is really hard. And I think it's been a fun journey. Yeah, I mean, I've found myself on the rock wall, found myself doing yoga, swimming, running. I mean, all of these things that I didn't compete in. So that wasn't part of my identity, but now they are.
I love that. What are some homework or like actionable items that people can take away from you today that will help them improve their confidence and like self-worth?
Enjoy the process, I would say, which everyone says to me, and it's so cliche, but I actually believe that when I find joy in the process, that's where the results are coming from. And in 2024, it's been physical results. It's been feeling like an elite athlete, which I think is, as I said, a real gift. I'm very grateful for that, to feel that way, because I, for the past 3 years, did not feel that way. And so getting back into that space, but approaching it from a new mindset has all been thanks to enjoying the process. I mean, if I put that barbell back on the rack and said, all right, like I'm not lifting, let's just go for that run, it would have changed my life for the worse. So I think being open and enjoying the process, because I was open to receiving that new workout, and that in turn has opened the door for me to rediscover my athletic identity.
I love that. I love a girl who goes into the gym and lifts. Let me tell you, one of my favorites.
Oh my gosh, was it scary at first? Oh my gosh, it was so humbling, and it still is so humbling. That is the truth, is that I think what's so cool is that it's very simple, and all you have to do, on the commercial, lift it up and put it down, but for real, that's really all it is. And once I stopped training for aesthetics and started training for strength, it just made me feel even more empowered.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like there is like a place to train for aesthetics, but you're probably not there in the first few years of lifting. Like I would say that even I am like, I don't train for aesthetics at all. I just train for, my sport, my strength. But I feel like a lot of the times people think that lifting weights is only about aesthetics. And it's like, we got to get out of that mind frame. Like, it's not what it is. There's so much more to it.
And I think on social media, there's a balance of women who are both pushing back against that norm and also perpetuating it. And the truth is, it is fun. It is empowering if your muscles are popping out when you're lifting. I'm like, that's so cool. The girls that are posting those videos, I'm like, pop off. That is so cool. And I want to be like you. And that's actually going to motivate me to lift as well. So I think there's a positive part of that as well, that at least for me, I want to be like those girlies out there. So I was like, okay, I'm going to lift. Like, fine, I'll try to lift this, very heavy thing. Like, I'll try it.
Yeah, and absolutely. And people who put themselves out there like that are incredibly motivating. I just think that there is like this like inherent idea that like in 1 year you're magically going to look like this awesome bodybuilder. And I'm like, no, like it takes a lot of work to get there. And like, not saying you can't, but if you don't want to, lifting isn't going to get you there magically.
And also, PSA, which I'm sure that you tell all of your athletes and your clients, but when you're flexing, you look different than when you're relaxed. And I'm literally slapping my hands as I'm saying this, because I did not realize I didn't make the 2 and 2, that I was like, all right, so if I lift, I get this whole program going. I'm going to look like those super strong girls on Instagram all the time. You look at you look at them and you can look like them when you're lifting, but when you put the weight down, it's very difficult to still have that muscle definition. And so I look very different when I'm lifting versus when I'm not, and I'm totally okay with that. But I guess I would also say that education isn't always there for like general viewers on Instagram.
Yeah, absolutely. Just gotta keep educating. Just keep digging.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, okay, so we have to ask my parting question here.
Ooh, I'm so excited for this. I already heard this, so I thought about this.
Okay, so you know your answers. I love this. So, fuck, marry, kill, squat, bench, deadlift.
In that order. Exactly in that order.
Okay, so you like to squat.
I love squatting, okay? I know I'm very, very different in that sense, but because it was truly the first thing that humbled me in the gym, I said, you know what? I'm going to take the squat with me, and I'm going to nurture her and love her, even on the days when I feel like I can't even move my legs. So there we go.
Love that. Wait, okay, so tell me about your benching, because I feel like benching is something that a lot of women tend to not do. So I love to hear that.
I started benching to build upper body strength, and it took me so long to get to actually holding the barbell that I feel very attached to it. And I'm like, okay, like benching, like let's do this thing, because I was just lifting so light for so long in that same position of like kind of doing presses in that sense. That once I actually moved to the bar, I don't know, it was empowering. It was cool.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. As you're talking about it, I'm like, oh, I feel like how empowered you felt by finally getting there. And I think again,
I mean,
like
it took a year, by the way. Like this is very new. Like this is a very new thing. But took a year.
But like you fell in love with the process and you trusted it and you kept going and you didn't let it defeat you. You just kept going with it. And I think like that small tangible experience you can put to so many other things like outside of lifting and nutrition. Like think about things at work, think about things with your family, like just diving into some experience and pushing yourself forward. That's what lifting can do for you, is like teach you how to do that and overcome something.
Yeah. And I would kill deadlifts because I don't know, when I heard that you said that you like them, I just can't agree. I can't agree. When I'm bent over about to pick up that thing, I'm like, I am not feeling like this, like doing this. You know, I like quarter squats. I think quarter squats are fun and have nothing to do with the deadlift, but I would never kill a quarter squat. So just putting that out there.
Yeah. So deadlifting, like if you're not very good at it, it's horrible. It's literally you either are really good at it and you love it, or you're not good at it and you just don't want to do it because it hurt. Like it's painful, it's annoying. Like you can't lift it off the ground on some days, but you can on other days. And like I totally get that. It's just I am so bad at squatting. So I have the complete opposite experience. I have these like really long femurs and this teeny tiny little torso that like my squatting, it just is honestly hard to watch and painful. So
well, that's like my deadlift. So there we go.
Yeah, we're just opposite.
Awesome. 100%.
All right, so tell us where we can find you. Tell us all about your podcast. Give everybody a chance to support you.
So my goal is to help other female athletes move on from college sports. And I do that through highlighting other women in podcast and television platforms. So you can find my podcast at @OnTheRise_pod. Unfortunately, all the other names were taken, so sorry, I'll say it again. At @OnTheRise_pod. And you can also just get it through my main account at Peri Sheinin, PeriSheinin. If you just type in @PERI, I should pop up. Hopefully, small benefit of being verified, hopefully. But besides that, I'm on Instagram, just started my TikTok, so I'm focusing on those two platforms in 2024 and would love to have any female athletes who played college sports and are moving on from that process. Would love to have them on, would love to connect with them as well. So.
Well, it has been so awesome chatting with you, and thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to continuing to follow your work.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to like, comment, review, whatever you want to do on here so we can get these stories out to more people and help the masses. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time.